What's going on, Winners, Texas? Welcome to episode 71, season 5 of Talking Throws podcast, Texas style. Of course, I'm Coach Jason.
Of course, I'm not.
No, she's not.
I'm Coach Chanel.
We would like feedback. Who is the star of the show? Me versus Coach Janelle.
His voice is louder, so it's probably the most recognizable. But mine has much of a better twang.
I've just been told I have a face for podcasting.
For radio. Face for radio.
Okay.
So all you YouTubers,
yes,
sorry.
for sure. So we were coaches with the Throwing Factory, a throwing track and field club, more of a field club. We are doing some recruiting for our summer track season and doing online lessons. So if you're in need of any online lessons and you're in another state, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is on the website. And then also Coach Janelle is our youth throwing director, and she handles all the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. So if you're a mom and you're wanting to get your little one into an activity, what better than throwing to get them in? And so she could be able to set your little one in the right direction. And then we have Coach Jarvis, East at the Throwing Factory, specializing in discus in the greater Mesquite area. Coach Kai out around Weatherford, specializing in javelin. And then our new guy, Coach Morgan Knight, power and performance out around Abilene, former All-American thrower at Abilene Christian. If you're looking to join a club or do any hammer lessons or anything in that greater West Texas area, reach out to Coach Knight. Our sponsors for season 5 is Talking Throws, is Texas Track and Field Coach Associations. That's led by Stuart Cantor. The website is ttfca.org. For everything track and field in the state of Texas, that is the site to go to, from scheduling to record books for education to anything you need to know about track and field in the state of Texas. That's the site to go to. That's simple. 4throws.com, quality implements priced right. Go to 4throws.com right now. On 4throws.com, they got a new shipment of ATE shots and also ATE discus as well. And also they're having sales on javelin and hammer as well. So go to 4throws.com, use that code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off that order. And the Heels are great people, and they'll do what's right by you for sure. Porta-Circle.com, making throwing more accessible. Use the code TalkingThrows10. And guys, if you don't have a track, if you don't have a throwing area, I should say, and you need some reps, and you're going to a park, what better training tool to use than the Porta-Circle? You can get a shot put, discus, or even a hammer one, and put it together and just go to work in any park that you need to. Then our favorite athletic development, Ready Up Athletic Development in the greater Austin area, led by Zach Phillips at 512-507-8347. I know Zach is doing some Olympic lifting training, powerlifting training. You can follow him on Instagram and Facebook, or go to his website, readyupad.com. And then our new sponsor, Fiber Sports Disc, a new way to get the distance. Fiber Sports Discus is more about the distance than just the rim selection. Go to fibersports.com, fibersportsdiscus.com. These are the new 2Ks. And then cool thing is you can also get Fiber Sports at 4throws.com and use that same code, Talking Throws 10. To get that discount. And to remind everybody too that we're on YouTube, so go give us a thumbs up or even a thumbs down and hit that subscribe button. And then also too, we have that shopping page on our website as well. So if you're looking for new apparel, look cool at your neck tracks meet, go purchase something off our shopping page. Today's guest is on a hot streak right now. She just hit a PR of 58.29, which I believe is a new discus record at Abilene Christian University. She hit that 58.29, I think, on Saturday out the Mount Sac Relays. She also has a PR in shot put of 16.55. Last year in 2021, she qualified for the NCAA Division I championships in both the shot and the disc. She was also the 2021 Southland Conference Field Athlete MVP. She hails from Germany and Dusseldorf. As a youth thrower, she was a member of the German youth track and field team. She placed second at the German youth national in the discus. She also placed 13th in the discus at the World Youth Championship. She also throws the javelin. Please welcome to the podcast,
Annina
Brandenburg.
Brandenberg.
Annina Brandenberg. Thank you for our pronunciation. Hey,
Hello.
Hello.
how are you?
Good, how are y'all?
Well,
You're
we're arguing
great.
right now, so you want to referee this argument?
About how to properly pronounce your name. We were arguing about it. It's Annina, right?
Yes, Annina.
See, I told you.
No, he was trying to say all these other things.
Basically,
I feel like I've heard all kinds of versions of my name, so
Especially with all of us in our Texas accents, our thick accents, messing up your beautiful German name.
I think sometimes I even start to pronounce it in more of like a Texan accent, and I'm just like, that's not it.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, if I mispronounce it, which I'm sure I will, I apologize. So
That's all
don't
good.
shoot me. So, well, man, thank you so much for being on. We got you at the right time, girl, because you were hot. You were smoking.
Yeah, it's going great.
I followed you since, like, I have videos of you, like when you were at the U20s, and then your first year at ACU, and then the last couple of years, and we actually sat at Texas Relays and watched you throw.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
so so I'm like a discus stalker. So
What are they called? Not fangirl, groupies.
I'm a
A
groupie.
discus groupie.
I'm a
That's
discus
the word.
groupie. Yeah, there you go. So anyway, so all
All
right.
right.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. So we know we're raised in Germany. So tell us, how were you introduced to throwing?
So, I got to my sports club, since I'm little. So I was a year old, and my parents entered me in this sports club. And so it started with just like mother-daughter training, just moving around a little bit. And then the people that were there coaching, just being there to watch what the parents and the kids are doing, they, I think, saw kind of like, okay, she's an athletic kid. Like, so they just kept moving me up each year to like a different group. And then I think when I was about I would say starting elementary school, when it was like more track specific. So actually doing like jumps and sprints and just like ball throws and things like that. And so from then on, I really have just done always track. And so I started as a multi.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a multi ahead for a little while. And I really did enjoy it. I wasn't a great high jumper, and definitely the 800, I wasn't a huge fan of that, obviously. Yeah, but it was, other than that, it was going decent. So I think.
Did you have a coach that you were like drawn to in that elementary age to kind of, build your confidence, say, hey, this is something you're going to be good at?
Yes. So I think there were a few coaches actually over the time period. I think my first more strict coach that was really pushing for like performances rather than just it being fun and your kids out here. His name was Wolfgang Funda, and he's trained Olympians in the hip.
Oh,
and
really?
So he is fairly old now, and so he just lived in our city, and so he started like coaching younger kids again, just to be out there. And he always said that I had like a pretty good talent in track in general. And so I did that with him for a while, and that's when I was younger and was more in like the multi, just to do all events rather than specifying into like a specific area. And then I had another coach when I got older, that was mainly like a sprints coach, but I wasn't fast that I could be a sprinter. I mean, I was okay for a multi, I would say. But not that I would make sprint my main event, but he still carried me through doing the multis and then working together with the throws coach, which was Kai's dad. Y'all know Kai Schmidt.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And so he always pretty much said that I had a lot of talent for throwing, even though in my mind, I was just like, nah, I'm going to be a multi. I think that's cooler than throwing.
Yeah.
And so I was still doing just the multi, but I think all of these coaches saw that I've always had more potential in the throws than I guess the average multi girl. And so that definitely was always like an indicator, like the throws definitely are special events for me personally, but I still just wanted to do the multi at first.
Gotcha. Okay.
Except for the 800.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you actually, you said earlier you kind of started out with your mother and daughter day and doing all this, some fun stuff. So was she an athlete? Were your parents an athlete to kind of help you go down this path as a guide?
Not really. I think my mom, I have two older brothers, so I think my mom just tried to find things to do with us. And so we just did fun stuff like that. My parents, I mean, when they were younger, they liked to play, I don't know, soccer, basketball, handball for my dad. But none of them were ever really in like a club or did anything sports related.
Okay.
I do think it's funny though. My grandma told me when she was in school, she was a discus and shot thrower, but it was just not like on the same level. It was just doing it for like 2-3 weeks or something like that. But
well, you might have got the talent from her. You never know. Okay. Well, so discus is definitely not part of the HEP. So how did that introduction to discus take part? I know because you were, probably doing shot and a little bit of javelin and stuff. How was the introduction to discus?
So in Germany, we have these pentathlons when we're younger. So we don't do the full HEP yet. When we're under 16 and under 14. And so it's just 5 events, and there are 5 different ones. They're like the sprint jumps one that includes long jump and high jump, and then the distance one that's like the 2K in it. And then there's a throws one, which has discus and shot put.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how I also started throwing discus. And then we have the team events in Germany, and you had to have like all events covered. And since I was good at shot and javelin, I was also just kind of in charge for the discus too with another girl. And so I think just because Kai's dad saw the potential in throws in general, so it was just natural to pick up the discus too and try to see where that goes.
Gotcha. Now I'm question what size discus, what size javelin, what size shot put were y'all throwing at that age?
At that age, we were throwing the 1K in the discus.
Okay.
Javelin, it was 400 gram.
You threw 400 gram? Okay.
Yeah, a little bit lighter than right now.
Yeah.
And the shot was the 3K. So
the shot was the 3K.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Now, so was your introduction, I'm Germany, glide shot put, I'm guessing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How was that introduction?
I feel like at first I did like the step back where
did
you slide. I'm pretty sure that's what I started with. I was never a huge fan of shot. I think we just don't really get along like that. But I think I did the step back first, try to figure that out, get to a certain point, and then slowly getting into the glide. And I think I'm decently explosive at the finish, that I could kind of get away with the glide, but I'm not the tallest for sure. And so I think that at some point was definitely holding back a little bit. But yeah, until I came here, I've always done the glide. Didn't even think about the sprint.
Really? Jared switched you to rotation when you came to Abilene?
Yeah, I remember the first practice. He just said, all right, let's spin. And I'm like, can I at least show you my glide?
Really? Okay. That's it. Okay. So backing up then, how was the introduction to rotational discus? Did Kai's dad kind of break it down in, 3 different segments? How did that work?
Yeah, I think we started with right foot, so half turns.
Mm-hmm.
And then even South Africans kind of to get more of the idea of going down the ring, but introducing another rotation. And then I think starting like the full throws. I actually don't really remember my early days that much. I think I was still doing so many other events, and it was so early actually. Yeah. I think I probably started throwing the discus, I think maybe when I was 12, or maybe even when I was younger.
Oh, wow.
So I honestly don't really remember it much, how I started it.
All right. Okay. That's okay. What is it?
Oh, I was just looking at her numbers.
Oh, okay. I know being a young girl at that situation, growing up in Germany, that's kind of, you go through these clubs. Did y'all practice with the boys? Was there pressure being on the females versus maybe what you saw versus pressure with the boys? Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm asking the question right.
I think so. I don't think there was much pressure. And I think the reason is I was still so focused on the HEP that I was just
Gotcha.
doing the discus and the throws for, I needed shot and javelin in the hip, but I didn't really need the discus. But I mean, it was fun because I think I didn't have that pressure.
Gotcha.
Thinking like I really need to excel in this or need to do these things. And I think that's probably why I didn't feel really the pressure much. I mean, it was always a competition in practice with people that were there in like a healthy, entertaining way, but not really the pressure that I would ever really get much frustrated with it. I think because I just didn't have my focus on it at that moment.
Gotcha. Now you were juggling school and everything else as well, going through all this, right?
Yeah.
So you would go to school in the morning, then train in the afternoons?
Yeah, those days would be actually pretty long. I think also with, especially in the winter, we had to travel a little further, and I would usually take the train or the bus, or my parents would come pick me up depending on the times and what worked. And so it was definitely long days where I would be at school from 8 to like 4 p.m. and then go home, eat something real quick, and pretty much leave at 5 already, and then be back at like 9:30, sometimes 10, and then try to do something.
Wow.
So it was definitely some long days.
So is this when you're like 13, 14, 15, or a little older?
I think a little older. So whenever I was still younger, I think trained probably more 3 days a week, maybe 4 days a week. And that was also a lot closer to my house. So it would pretty much only take me like 5-10 minutes to get there. I think the practices were probably a little shorter at that time too. So then it wasn't that bad, not that long.
Gotcha. Was there a certain meet that you went to, whether it was shot, javelin, or even discus, that you kind of peaked and kind of performed at a high level to say, hey, this is something that I really think I want to pursue, kind of, and go to college and, you know, all that type thing?
I think my first discus competition experience that I really remember where I was like, okay, that was pretty good, was when I was doing the nationals for that pentathlon with the throw event.
Yeah.
And I remember I threw at that meet 39 meters 38.
Wow.
And I was 15 and I barely practiced like discus that much right then.
Yeah.
Because I was still mainly multi, and you have, 7 other events to worry about. So you're not gonna really do the 8th one. And I remember I was really happy because that was the furthest throw this whole weekend with the boys and the girls. And that's when I was like, maybe the discus is actually pretty good. So I definitely remember that meet for the discus. Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe this is something I should now start focusing on a little more.
Yeah.
For sure. So walk us through how, because you threw for the national team, as a youth. How did you go from, working with Coach Smith, Kai's dad, to getting that opportunity and going to that level?
So it actually, I think I still didn't really see it until the point it actually happened that discus is going to be my main event.
Okay.
I think, again, I was still like the hep, the multi, it's fun. I want to do that. I love hurdles. And so I don't think I was ready to like completely give that up and only do the throws. And I think most of my friends were also in the multis, the other events, just because I've been training with them for so long. So I think that was another thing that I was like, oh, like, I don't know if I want to completely give all this up and just go throws. And so up till that point, I would qualify for nationals for under 18 or under 20 in discus and shot put. And so I would kind of just train 2 months before nationals and don't do anything in that middle for discus, or at least not much.
Yeah.
And then I would still place pretty well at nationals. And then that same thing happened in the year where I qualified for the under 18 World Championships to be on the national team. And I think the summer before I did pretty well in the discus at nationals. And so then Kai's dad was like, we need to keep an eye on this. Like, you have potential to be on the national team. And I don't think you were there in the multi yet. And so I was like, okay, we can do it a little more. And so then I qualified for it. And I think that's when Kai's dad really was like, if you still want to do the multi, then I don't think you should. And so I was like, I guess we'll go more throws. Yeah.
That's awesome. You have someone who will be real with you and say, "Hey, this is the route you need to go. You're going to be better here."
So do you still late at night go to the stadium and run the hurdles in Abilene? Do you still?
I actually did that my freshman year, and sometimes when the hurdles are out there, I just run over the hurdles with them, or when they pre-meet, I'm just at the meet running over the hurdles with them if I can.
It's Coach Cook going, "No, stop! You're going to hurt yourself."
No, he usually is like, "Try to beat this a little more." And
Oh, does he really? Okay, there you go. There you go. So walk us through that experience. You know, you go to the U23 championships, I believe, in 2019.
Yes.
I'm looking at that when you throw the 56, 52.
Yes.
Yeah, that had to be a tremendous experience, right?
Yes. That was really exciting. I mean, that whole season until that point, I had like a pretty great breakthrough, I think. At Tech, throwing 2 meters over my PR, and then at regionals throwing another 2 meter over that previous PR.
Okay.
And so that was just kind of smooth sailing during that season, which was just really great. And then I went home after nationals, NCAA nationals.
Yeah.
Went home, had about 3 days, I think. I got there, slept that day, like in Germany, got there, slept that day. Then I think the next day trained a little bit with Kai's dad. The day after that, I think we already traveled to under 23 nationals. And then I had to compete the next day. So I won that meet with another great throw. And so that was really exciting, which then qualified me for the under 23 European Championships. And so, yeah, that was a great meet because I was so excited that I could throw over that qualification mark. I think it was either my first or second throw.
Oh, really?
I think it was my first throw. And that was just like, wow, this season is really going. And so that was just really exciting. And then coming back for the finals, I think it was the day after. That's when I think it might have been my fourth or fifth throw. I set in fourth the whole time, or somewhere right there.
Okay.
And then I think it was my fourth or fifth throw. I threw far and threw further than the girl who was in third. It was also from Germany. So it was kind of like bittersweet of like, I mean, I'm happy I'm third right now. Like that's amazing. But I also I felt a little, didn't feel bad, but you just can't be happy when you're there with a friend who's also competing, and then you're the one that's kicking her out of the podium. So it was just kind of a weird atmosphere, but it was fun. You
were competitive, and I will admit I asked the wrong question, so I apologize.
Yeah, I was like, you missed her.
I missed her going to college, and that's just made me think of something, because when we say World U20s or U18s, and all that type of stuff, you don't see a lot of representation from the States.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're kind of clueless. Yeah. Okay, when it says U18, does that mean you're under 18?
Okay, yeah, that was under 18. Yes, yes, under 18. Okay, so you're talking about the under 18.
Yeah, I skipped. So I told you it was a bad question. We're still arguing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just skipped all ahead. I was like, oh, that's the wrong one. So anyway, back up and tell us that one, because that kind of puts you on the map.
Yes. Yeah. So under 18, it was that meet where pretty much after. So in Germany, you either qualify through nationals to go to these meets.
Okay.
If the meets are before nationals, then they have a specific meet that decides which athletes are the ones going.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We had like this qualification meet in Germany, and I won the meet, I think, by 2 centimeters. And so they decided, or previously they had stated, the person that wins the meet is going to go, and then the person who has the furthest mark throughout the season. And so there was a girl, she had thrown 49 meters at that point. And so she pretty much was set at that point. We were all throwing like 46, 47. And so she was kind of set that she was probably going to go. And then I had to win the meet to go to. And so I think it might have been actually my last throw where I threw it 2 centimeters further than the girl that was in first at that moment. And so, yes, that was the qualification meet where then they decided that I can go to the under 18 World Championships.
Okay.
And yeah, so getting to that meet, it was in Colombia. So it was pretty far from Germany.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, completely different time zones and
Your first time big traveling, right?
Definitely that far. Yes.
Yeah.
And so with the weather and everything. And so I think that was actually the best year you probably could have qualified for an international meet, because Germany decided to send all the athletes to an 8-day trip to Florida to get used to the climate. And so that was just
wow, lucky you.
Yeah.
So was that your first time coming into the States?
Yes, that was my first and only time until I came to ACU.
Oh,
wow. So did y'all go to Miami? Did y'all go to Orlando? Where at in Florida?
So we stayed at the IMG Academy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty huge. Yep.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun. And so, yeah, we got to train there for like 8 days, enjoy the weather, get used to everything, get used to the time change. And then we flew to Colombia and got ready for the meet there. That was definitely special to be on the national team, to just see even the people in Colombia was so excited to see all these different countries and all these young athletes compete with each other. And it was a beautiful stadium. And we had like a really great hotel and everything. So it was a great experience. The throwing part, not so much. I mean, it was a great experience, but not how I would have liked it. I think I scratched I threw out of the right side of the sector my first 2 throws. So I had one more throw to qualify for finals, and I missed it by 12 centimeters. So that was a little frustrating, but I still like to look at the positive things and just see that even that third throw after scratching 2 or fouling 2, that I could still kind of keep collected and throw at least close to almost making it. So I wish I would have made it, but I mean, it was a great experience. It was a blessing. Yeah.
Wow. But so I've watched you from afar, even like what we just talked about with Texas Relays, and you seem like you kind of are always by yourself, kind of in a mental thought process. You can just kind of tell by the look of your eyes. That process that you have now and you use now, is that something you learned from, your experience of going to Columbia as a youth and throwing international, kind of that, internal clock that you're ready to explode with? Am I wrong or right on that?
No, I think that's right. I think I've been at a lot of bigger meets, just German nationals, and then international meets, or even the qualification meets that are really important. So I think, I do kind of get just trying to be focused, like remember what I need to do, but also try to stay active. And so I think I'm just always kind of like, I'm sitting down and then I get back up. So I feel like I don't really ever sit down and just be there and talk or joke with other people, because I feel like I'm like, okay, I sat for 20 seconds now, I got to go back up, or like, so I feel like I'm just always thinking, okay, what can I do now?
So, all right. So we got the U's right. So we're back at U18. So you redeem yourself for the U20s, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, are you at Abilene yet? Or I don't think so.
Yes, I think I was. So you're talking about the under 20 European championships?
Yeah.
Yes, that was my freshman year of college.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We'll hold off on that one. So tell us.
How'd you get to Abilene?
Yes, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry.
How did you get to Abilene?
So how was you introduced to Abilene, and how did that process start to come to Abilene?
Yeah. So pretty much everything over Kai. I mean, I was still training with his dad, as my coach, or when Kai would come home over the summer or over the winter break, like we would train together. And so he would always tell me like what it's like and what you can do. And so I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do after high school yet. And so I think I knew I wanted to keep throwing and do the sport. And sometimes it can be a little difficult in Germany just because you have like the school and then the club rather than things together.
Yeah.
And so I also wasn't the greatest high school student. And so I don't know if I would have wanted to go to college in Germany. And so, Kai just kept talking about it. His dad kept saying that I think that's a really good experience. And so then slowly I started thinking about it, and I saw pictures of Kai, or I saw like how they do things. And I mean,
Okay.
I was really enjoying throwing and lifting and doing the sport. And it just seemed like a great experience to learn English and be on your own, grow as a person, get independent, and just figure out like how I can use the experience to come to America for after college. And so it just seemed like a really good opportunity. And so yeah, then everything just went over Kai pretty much. He just told Coach Cook about me, showed him I think some videos. Coach Cook would emailed me, and I definitely was a hard recruit because I would just not email back really. I would just take like weeks and weeks, and then Kai's dad
Oh,
would
really?
have to tell me again, like, hey, Annina, how about you email back? Like, I don't think they've heard anything from you. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's right. I think I just tried to like, I would see the email, but I'm like doing something, and my English was not great at that moment. So I think I definitely had to like sit down and do it. But then I never really had much time to sit down and do it. And so then I would just forget about it. So I think I definitely caused Coach Cook to rethink his decision a few times. But
I think he's right. Just not to interrupt, did you have any other schools contact you and show any interest that you know, besides Abilene Christian?
so I was also part of like an online platform for athletes from Germany, and I think Austria and some around it that wanted to come over to the States. And so I was on this platform where you just have your PRs, a few videos if you want to, things about you. And through that, I had some other schools reach out. I think it was Stephen of Austin was one. Actually, Howard reached out to me.
Really? Okay.
So that was exciting. Um, and then I'm pretty sure North Dakota State, but I think with like knowing Kai, knowing so much more about ACU than I knew about the other schools, I think I just felt more of like the safer side to go with ACU because I just didn't really hear anything bad about it. And I think my mom was also probably happy that I had Kai there, so she knew somebody was going to take care of me. Yeah.
Like a big brother.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, so were you familiar with, you know, Texas and West Texas and, you know, all that type stuff? Did you have any education or knowledge of what you were coming to?
Not really. I mean, I knew, I think that Texans are very friendly and open and inviting. So, but I also didn't know what exactly that would look like, or if that's just something from movies or things like that. I definitely, whenever I told people I was going to go to Texas, all I heard was, "Oh, you're going to be with the Cowboys and all that stuff." So I didn't really know much about it besides what Kai would tell me, but not really anything before or anything other than that.
Abilene's in the middle of nowhere with no.
Yeah, I definitely had not heard about Abilene.
Yeah.
So you fly into Abilene. Did Coach Cook pick you up from the airport? What was your first impressions, you know, of meeting Coach Cook face to face?
So I actually got to ACU 2 weeks late because some paperworks were missing. They just didn't ever show up in Germany, so I had to wait and apply for a visa. So I was 2 weeks late, but when I finally got there, Kai and Coach Cook picked me up at the airport. And I remember that the first thing we did, like, are you hungry? And we went to Chick-fil-A, and Coach Cook just asked me, like, oh, what do you want? And I'm just like, I don't even know what they have here. Like, I don't know what the store is.
What is it, Chick-fil-A?
Was that your first time ever going to Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, that was my first time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That had to be cool. That I would love that.
Yeah, it was good. After I saw the menu, I was like, okay, I think I know what I want. Or yeah.
How was your English at that point? Had you worked on it? Were you better with all your English when you came over?
Yeah, I think I was a little better than I was in high school. I didn't really, I mean, I cared for English, but not in the sense that I thought I will have to speak it every single day for the next 6 years.
Yeah.
But I think my English was okay that I could understand. I just didn't have a great vocabulary, or my grammar, I'm sure, was not right. But I heard some tips of like try to read books in English, or try to watch shows, movies that you know in German, listen to them in English to just understand more and get more of a flow.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
is
but
that
I
what
think
you did?
yes, I try to at least.
You tried to at least.
But I definitely can say nothing helped as much as really just coming to the country and just speaking it. I really don't think you can learn it any better way than to just go to the country and speak it there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's probably true of any language. They say just
Yeah.
jump in and go.
Yeah.
So I have to ask on the outset, when you go back home, is your German a little rusty?
Oh, for sure.
Is there?
Yes. I even sometimes when I talk on the phone with my family and I just take seconds and minutes, I'm like, what am I trying to say here? But it's the same way when I come back, like when I was in Germany over the summer and then I come back and the first 2 weeks are just a little rough of what am I trying to say? Sometimes I just start talking in English or in German. It's just, sometimes all over the place.
Yeah, that's the way I am right now with English. for sure. So he takes you to Chick-fil-A. It's your first year. What's your thoughts on seeing the campus and Abilene Christian? There's kind of an expectation with your belief system and all that type of stuff. Was that a learning experience for you? How did you adjust to that as well?
I think whenever I got there, everything just seemed so huge because all I knew from just doing track was you have your little track stadium and that's pretty much it. But then being on campus, you have all the other dorms and the like education buildings, and then all the different sports facilities. So I definitely thought like it was very huge and I'm not going to find my way around here. Which now when I look at our campus, I mean, it's pretty much the smallest campus I think you can find. But yeah, definitely at the beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. But I think I adjusted fairly quickly because I also didn't have a car. So I would just like walk places, or people would take me. And so I'd say I adjusted fairly quickly. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, what was it like being around, that throwing group as a freshman? Because you had Kai there and there was that connection as well. But, you had some Americans and just a new female. And plus, dude, that might have been the first time you've probably ever thrown boys and girls together, right? Am I right on that?
We threw boys and girls together in Germany.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We never really separated any groups. It definitely, I think at first I was for sure very nervous, especially with some of the boys having a very Texan accent. I had a hard time. Y'all know Morgan. I know I had a hard time understanding. I was like, what is he saying? I don't know. Yeah. I would just nod and smile, and be like, okay.
Yeah. He would show up to practice in cowboy boots.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm sure he's done that a few times.
Yeah.
But it was really great. I mean, I was the only freshman that came in that year. And the throw group really just took me in. I mean, there was nobody that left me on their own. Like if I needed anything, or they would always take me everywhere I wanted to go. And so, having Kai, that was definitely a huge advantage, but pretty much everybody, I remember all the girls, Taylor Posey, Kayla, Reagan, they would all take me in immediately. So awesome. I think pretty fast they integrated me into the group that I didn't feel like homesick or nervous or anything like that. So
did you room with them? Was one of those your roommates?
No, since I was the only freshman, I roomed with another international girl that she wasn't doing any sports.
That was good.
Yeah. And so I think through that, I got to meet a few other girls, like just in the dorms, because I wasn't just only with athletes. But later on, I lived with them.
Okay, that's cool then.
Off campus.
Gotcha. So talk to us about your first year. You redshirted outdoors your first year, but then you threw in indoors and shot put, and you had a pretty good year, 47-45 for shot put. How was that adjustment? How was the competition, in the Southland Conference, what you saw versus maybe what you saw back home?
I remember, I think it was really great and just practice at ACU already that we had a few girls that were all throwing pretty much the same distance. So there was always like kind of a competition, but also support, where everybody was at. So I think that was kind of comfortable that going into conference, I had 3 other girls with me competing. So I didn't really feel like, oh, this is something like new, or I had to be like super, super nervous just because I've had these big meets before. And practice was going well as far as I remember, and just having the other girls with me in that competition, I don't think I was very nervous. More, I think, just excited to see how it goes. And we've always done indoor track in Germany. So I think the only thing that was really new was that I was spinning at that point. But we had practiced it since, I would say, probably September of the year before when I got there. And so I think that was really the only new thing to the indoor season.
So how did Jared introduce you to, you said Ursula, he just wanted to see it. Was it a slow process to kind of take what you did in discus and kind of blend it in to your shot put technique?
Yeah, I think it was a mix of just my knowledge that I had with discus and just trying to translate it to the shot. And at the beginning, we were just doing a lot of drills, like even just on the track, not even in the rings, or just met ball drills. And so I think starting that really helped to do pretty much similar things that I've done in discus at that point, and then just finally like getting in the ring and trying it with the shot. I would say it was pretty much a translation from the discus over to shot.
Wow. So your freshman year, did you get any barbecue? Did anybody introduce you to country music? Did Morgan take you two-stepping?
I think as a group we went two-stepping a few times.
There you go.
I definitely
Good.
know we had a lot of dinners. I'm sure my freshman year too at Coach Cook's house where we would eat some good steaks. So that was definitely always a tradition that I got to do. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. We had to break you in early. That's the reason I asked you that freshman year. Yeah. So you're going on your 5th or 6th year at Abilene Christian.
This is my 6th one.
This is your 6th one, and that was because of COVID, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So every year during the summer, you said you go back home because of your national obligations to for your competitions, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would go home. I mean, obviously to be with family. Season and school is over here, and I lived in the dorm, so we had to get out anyway. And so it was just natural to go home, be with family, and then having Kai compete there and Kai's dad still being my coach there. That just pretty much translated everything how it was before I went to ACU. We just pretty much did the same thing, like same practice. Would send Coach Cook some videos of him getting the feedback to the technique and things like that, or even like his workout plans. And so, then I would just compete in Germany.
Oh, and that was what I was leading into. Typically, in the U.S., when you go to the college, that's your throws coach and he monitors everything. Mm-hmm. But you kind of went back to your national team, and have your national coaches and then Coach Cook back home. Was there a blending of philosophies with coaches and different things like that? How did you kind of, pull the information and handle it to benefit your performance?
So back home, like being on the national team, we do have a national coach, but we don't really train with them unless we're at like training camps or like the international competitions, or even training camps just throughout the year. So I would just mainly have Kai's dad as the coach, and I think he had already communicated over the last 2 years with Kai of how he was doing it since he came to ACU 2 years before me, and so I think the way Kai was doing it, just coming home, sending Coach Cook the videos, doing workout plans that would work for the meets, and communicate those with Coach Cook and Kai's dad to see like what would work, what abilities, what resources do we have in Germany. And so I think that's kind of how definitely at that point, I would say probably Coach Cook had the overhand of like what the technique needs to look like, and things like that, especially because I mean it was going well for me already after my first year, and so then also having Kai there who has heard Coach Cook and trained with Coach Cook for so long, and so I think since we worked out together, that kind of floated in and was pretty much the same, just with Coach Cook not being there, and then Kai's dad just being there and helping out wherever he can and still giving the input of what we've learned from him even before coming to college. So I think it was like a good mix, a good balance mix of what was the opportunity at that moment, what was available to do.
Gotcha. Now, as your freshman year, you said earlier your academics in Germany may not have been the best. Did you declare a major at Abilene, and how was that adjustment to American education? So my first semester I took just mainly English classes to
get that going a little bit.
The language.
You said what?
I said the language. You learned the language.
Yeah, which also really helped because I didn't have a lot of other classes what I really needed to like focus on. So it was kind of nice to at the beginning mainly focus on really developing that language and getting comfortable with it. And then my second semester I started with regular classes. But from the beginning I knew I wanted to do marketing. I had always been very interested in marketing, even like in Germany. And I think if I went to college or didn't go to college in Germany, I would have tried to do something with marketing. So that kind of was an easy decision. And ACU having a good business program, that definitely was good. And even I think knowing America has a lot of opportunities when it comes to marketing and doing things differently when it comes to advertising. And so I think that was definitely attracted to knowing how America emphasizes marketing and learning it in this environment.
So have you already started your master's then? Have you already graduated with your undergrad?
Yes, I graduated with my bachelor 2020, and so I'm about to finish my master's.
Oh wow! Master's in what?
The MBA, so business administration and focusing on data analytics. So I kind of changed from marketing into more data analytics in research and things like that.
Wow! Look at the English student going a long way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is awesome. That is cool.
My grades definitely have gotten so much better since I was over here. From the start, I think it was just a lot more interesting that I had that extra factor of like I really need to listen and understand what I'm learning because it's a different language. And so I think I started that my freshman year, and so that just kind of stuck with me.
Welcome back, track people. This is Brandon, owner of fourthrows.com. We're a fast and growing track and field company that specializes in the throws. With our speed shipping, implement warranties, and rock bottom prices on javelins, discuses, shot puts, and hammers, call us up today to talk directly to one of the owners at fourthrows.com.
Awesome.
So did they have your freshman year and even maybe currently like tutors and places for you guys to go study as athletes? Like what kind of support system did you have to make sure you stayed on top of your education?
Yeah, we definitely have study hours here at ACU that you definitely had to do your freshman year. Okay. And so that was just a few hours during the week where we can be in like an environment with other students, and some of the athletic department, they would be there and help wherever they can. And then through the athletic department, we had tutors for pretty much any class that you needed. You could just reach out to them and they would find somebody to help you. And so that was definitely pretty great. And I think a great thing about ACU, since the classrooms are so small, that even the professors, I mean, they help wherever they can with like traveling and things like that. So that was never really an issue. That was always very supportive from a bunch of different areas.
Gotcha. So when did you start feeling comfortable in the ring and really started, you started popping over 50 meters? I think that was maybe did you do that your second year there, your sophomore year when you hit the 50 meters in discus?
So I threw 50 before I came into ACU in Germany.
Yeah.
And so I think having learned a good technique from Kai's dad already, and then coming over here and Coach Cook giving me good feedback of that I'm at a good spot. And obviously there's always something you can change and improve. But I think that really gave me confidence, just the feedback from Coach Cook, knowing that I was in a good spot and I was already throwing for quite a while. I mean, I touched this distance. I've been 12, I think. So I definitely had, I think, decent experience and confidence in kind of what things need to feel or what things need to happen. And yeah, so my freshman year, I redshirted outdoor and didn't throw too much discus. But yeah, I think then my sophomore year was a little rough. I think that was just kind of like a rough year for me. I wasn't really in a good mindset, or things just weren't really.
Was it because homesick?
I honestly am not quite sure. I think so. I'm assuming maybe since I redshirted my outdoor year freshman year, or outdoor season freshman year, I think sophomore year was my first outdoor year really, and I think I was just really excited to do good things, and knowing that I have had success previously, I think I was just really pushing for some things and when they weren't working. And I'm not a good thrower in practice. I mean, I am getting there now, but my first 2-3 years, there would definitely be times I would be throwing 120 through 140 in discus, and that's like constantly. And there's not much wrong with my throws, but they would just not fly.
Oh,
It
wow.
was definitely sometimes weird. And I know the coaches that I've had, they've definitely been like, I don't understand how you throw this in practice. And then we have a meet that weekend and I throw 170. So it was definitely very stressful sometimes. But yeah, I think my sophomore year, I sometimes needed a little push of getting out of my head and just enjoying the sport and not really always thinking about, okay, you need to do this and this and this and this. So I feel like a lot of it was, I think I was probably so ready to compete for ACU outdoor and like discus specifically, since I've done indoor shot already, that I think I just wasn't enjoying it how I used to. I felt more pressure, I think, just because I was focusing so much more on throwing than the previous year. So that's maybe how I could explain it. But yeah, it was a little rough year.
Can I ask a question? So in those practices, when you were throwing so poorly, how did you mentally handle that practice if you knew you could hit a 175? Because we have girls who do that often. They have really bad, and guys, really bad practices. And so did you shut down? Did you work harder? Did you whine? Did you pout? I mean, how did you handle those practices when it was that bad?
So this really wasn't just practices like one every few weeks that was bad. Like that was my average. And so I think that has always been my average. Like even in Germany, my practices would just not be how I would compete. I think I just obviously didn't have the adrenaline that I would have in meet. And so I think my timing a lot of time would be off. And so that would already just set certain things off, that I wouldn't hit the discus the way I would in competitions. And so honestly, I feel like sometimes it was definitely frustrating. And especially because I couldn't change anything about it. I couldn't just fix my timing right then. And so sometimes it was frustrating. A lot of the times I think I just thought it was a little funny how I knew I could throw so much further, and I had proved it multiple times that I had horrible weeks of practice, and then I would come and throw well. So I think even when I had a bad practice, we would just joke and be like, that I guess means the meet is going to be great because my practices are so horrible. So I think most of the time it didn't really stress me out that much because I was just focusing on what I'm doing in the ring, and just trusting that it was going to fall in place in the competition. But some days when I was trying to get out there and be like, okay, let's have a competitive mindset. Let's try to like actually have a good throws, good practice, and it would still not happen. That definitely was sometimes a little frustrating, but a lot of the times it was really just amusing because that's all I was used to.
Yeah.
Do you think as a youth and throwing as far as you did, that you kind of get fixated on maybe chasing that mark, chasing that number to improve, and the more difficulty that becomes, the farther it becomes, you get frustrated and your patience, are very short with that, because you've thrown for a long time and had great success as a youth to what you're doing now. And we've coached girls and see athletes all the time. And I've talked with other professional athletes, who threw far early and they get caught up in throwing for the distance. And they try to make technical changes to throw for the distance and it doesn't happen. And they get so frustrated. They're like, I'm done. I can remember talking to Adam Setliff. I don't know if you know who Adam Setliff is. And Adam was obsessed with cues, any cues that he could just create to help him throw farther. And he spent 5 to 6 years of his prime consumed with frustration instead of being proud of what he's done. So
yeah, I think I've been very lucky with my discus career because pretty much every single year I had improved.
Yeah,
like from Lily, since I touched the discus, every single year I had a PR. There was not a single year where I didn't PR, and even my freshman year I didn't throw much, but I still had a PR at the end of the year. And even though my sophomore year,
what's the secret?
Yeah,
I don't know.
throw bad in practice.
Throw 120 in practice and I'll PR.
Yeah. And then even my sophomore year, I mean, it was a rough year. And then the last meet, I could qualify for the big, like the senior nationals, like the
Yeah.
actual nationals in Germany. But I mean, I hadn't thrown far at that point. And I'm actually not sure if I hit 50 meter that year, but then that last meet, that last through, I threw 52, which was another PR. So really every single year I had PR. And then my junior year, I threw a PR, and then senior year got canceled. And last year I didn't PR, and this year PR. So really, since I've touched the discus, the only year I did not PR was last year. And so I think I was really lucky. I mean, I was, obviously you always want to improve your PR, but I don't think I was really chasing for like certain numbers. I think I always try to see whatever my PR is, I want to be consistent right there, because then I know if I have that consistency, I'm going to have a big throw. And then the next year I'll try to be consistent at that PR that I threw the year before, and then I'll have a better one. And so I think I try to focus more on that consistency rather than chasing like one or two big throws.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's good. Hang on, before
ahead.
I know he's going to jump in and want to break down your technical stuff. So I want to ask a little bit more about your mindset in a meet, because if you're throwing like that in practice and then you're hitting that adrenaline in the meet, and earlier you talked about how like you sit down and you get up and you try. So do you have a routine you do for meet day that gets you pumped up? Like what's your system?
Do you listen to music?
Yeah, that gets
I know
in
you
that
wear a
mindset.
bucket hat. I've seen that bucket hat.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's too hot, especially in Austin with the sun, that I need that bucket hat.
You look good in it.
Thanks. I don't think I have like a great routine before the competition, the morning off or anything. I mean, I just try to eat well and get up and wake up. Whenever I was younger, I would every morning, if we had like an early morning competition, I would go outside before I eat breakfast and just walk around for like 5 minutes to actually wake up rather than not ever really waking up. So that's my routine if it's like a really early morning competition. Other than that, I mean, I listen to music if I'm bored or I don't have anything to do, or I just listen to whatever is playing in the car or talk to people. So I think beforehand, I don't really have much of a routine, but when I get into warming up, I think I pretty much do the same things of just jogging a little bit, stretching and things like that, getting quick. And then during the competition, it depends on like the time that we get with warm-up throws. That's kind of how, when I decide if I need to do fronts or how many fronts, and when I get into right foot. So I think I would vary depending on what the situation is. I don't think I'm really somebody that has that strict routine, and if that's not going, then I'm going to be a little thrown off. So I think I just kind of go with what the competition, what the situation allows me to do.
Okay.
Wow.
That's good.
Wow. Great answer. So we're going to skip into this 58.29 that you just hit. And let's talk about that PR. Because in the last 3 weeks, you went 59.29, 58.18, and then Texas Relays 57.29. So you are on a hot streak right now.
Yeah.
And I think you're officially now the school record holder in the discus at Abilene.
Yeah, I broke the school record my junior year. So
Your junior. Okay.
A little bit.
So you broke your own record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. So what's, is this thing all the preparation the last 5 or 6 years with you and Jared, is everything just kind of clicking?
I think so. I feel strong in the weight room. And a lot of times when I feel good with my strength and my body, and we've changed a few things to get my lower body a little bit more activated this year. And I think that's when I really feel good, quick, explosive, and where the timing is right in the throws. And I had, surprisingly, my practice averages were pretty far too, which is so unlike me. And so I think
125.
Yeah. And so I think that's kind of when we knew like this season can probably be pretty good, or at least like average of, again, like constant where my PR was. That was, I think, kind of my goal again. And so then that happened at the ACU meet, at our first outdoor meet, home meet. And I threw I think consistently 55 or 54, 55. And so I was like, that was a great start. Like that's kind of where I think I'm good at. And so then moving on to Texas Relays, and Texas Relays was a really good meet because I threw javelin on the first day, and I threw really well, really consistent, and the best series I've ever had in a competition. And then discus. And so that was, I think one of those was already like my second furthest throw ever. And so I was really excited about that one. I was like, I'm at a great point. And then the last I went 57, and I was like, well, I guess we're going to do this. And so that was great. And then, going to Texas Tech, always a good facility, always good wind, and having seasons there, always a good competition. And so I think, practices have been great. I think I just tried to replicate what I was doing in practice, and things were just falling into place. I had a lot of pressure on my hand, a lot of pressure on the disc, and so it was going well.
So you said earlier that y'all made some changes to get more activation with your lower body. Was that assessment that Jared make? And then what did he do to kind of create more activation, or what did you do to create more activation?
So doing indoor season, we traveled a lot because we had like a meet pretty much every weekend, and then kind of further too, just because there aren't that many indoor facilities.
Yeah.
And so with that, we kind of didn't have a lot of time to do all the workouts in the weight room. And I'm somebody that really benefits from working out in the weight room. At that first ACU meet, I was working out the morning of the competition, and I did well. And so I'm somebody that really, really benefits when your legs are a little taxed. And so that's kind of when we saw that at the ACU meet, we were like, let's just keep this going. And then when we come to the end of the season, we'll take back a little bit and refresh your body. But right now we're really just taxing my body, and it's still going really well. So I think I just really benefit from doing lower body workouts, even pretty heavy, decent amount of reps, even right before the competition or the day before. So that's kind of what we adjusted to really utilize the time that we have to get all the workouts in, rather than taking a day off because we're traveling, because we need to do this. So just kind of training through these things.
So so you went to Mount Sac this past weekend. Did you work out the morning of the meet? And no?
No.
Were you able to work out there though?
No, this was the first meet where we didn't really do it,
Okay.
Just because I left Wednesday at 5 a.m. in the morning, so I couldn't really work out then. We didn't get to the hotel decently late. And so then with having all the other athletes compete, there was not really an opportunity to lift then in the morning, or not really a space to do it. I think I just tried to activate myself with some jumps or some warm-up things to get my body going.
And so typically, if it's a home meet for you and you work out the day of, are you doing cleans? Are you doing front squats? Walk us through a couple of exercises that you do?
Yeah, that day, I think I snatched and I did the safety bar squats.
Yeah.
And pretty much did a full program. Didn't really hold back. Lifted some heavy weight, lifting some decent reps. I think I can't remember exactly the reps we did, but it was definitely, I think, 4 or 5 reps for all of these.
Oh wow, really?
Like a few sets, yeah.
For like 45 minutes, an hour?
Yeah, I think it was like an hour 15.
Oh wow.
With heavy weight.
Yeah.
Pretty heavy.
Now, go ahead.
I think a lot of it is really just like that indoor season. I didn't feel great. I didn't really feel connected with my lower body. And so I think knowing that and taking that feedback, we were like, we're just going to really try this the first few weeks. And it was working at the ACU meet and the Texas Relays and Texas Tech. And so I think we're really just trying to utilize the time and not waste another day to hold back for the current meets, when it's more important what will happen at conference regionals and after that.
Wow.
I really love how you said getting your lower body activated when you lift and taking it to the throws, like getting that connection between them. I think that's something that, we have kids, we lift and we do that and we tell them while we're lifting, but I don't think yet they've realized that connection of my lower body when I lift, I need to carry that in.
Yeah.
Into throwing.
Being like knowing how to use the ground through those exercises. Yeah, that definitely translates just straight over to throws.
We say it all the time, but I think our kids haven't quite made the connection. Just the way you said it, I was like, that's.
Yeah. So the 58:29. Did you?
Yesterday. No, not yesterday.
It was the day before.
2 days ago.
3 days ago. Yeah.
3 days ago. Yeah.
So did you? As soon as you let it go, did you feel it? It was like, oh my God, that's the one?
Actually, I haven't yet. None of my PRs, I have felt like that was the one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I at Texas Relays, that first one, or that last one, that first PR.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like I really went after it, but it didn't feel like that was going to be huge. And then the same thing at Texas Tech. It felt like a good throw, but I know I've had more pressure on the discus and more control over my body in practice throws. And then same at Mount Sac. I mean, it felt like a good throw. And the one before was 56.9. So I think it was just like, okay, like it's going to be something like that. Like I've been very consistent, but none of these felt like, oh yeah, that's going to be far. I mean, going to be far, but not to an extent where I'm like, that's going to be a new PR, newer record or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And those experiences as a youth definitely help you in those meets like that with the high level competition. You're throwing against some of the best collegiate throwers in the US.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I think competing at the international meets where I have seen people throw really far, or even at nationals in Germany, throwing with the girl that just got second at the Olympics. And so I think that really has helped me always to focus on what I do in the ring and not really be too much focus on what other people throw or do in the ring or things like that, because at the end I can only control how far I throw.
Gotcha. So getting to the technique. Now I'm excited. Yay!
He's been waiting to ask all those technique questions.
You turn that left heel, you're really long out of the back. The entry. Walk me through that. What's your cues from the being long and the sweep into the entry? What are you thinking, as soon as right foot grounds, what are you thinking, from there?
I think out of the back, what y'all said, like turn that left foot and definitely moving all that weight over to the left so that I have all that pressure on the left to get off it at some point. Mm-hmm. And then holding that right arm back as long as and as far as I can. I never try to move my right arm really. As soon as it's at the furthest point, I try to get my lower body started to keep that right arm the furthest away from me. And then just having open hips so that I can go around with my right leg around my left leg, and just kind of having that same work of pushing off that left foot a little bit while that right foot is also pulling me forward and getting that switch to get into my opposite. So I think those are like the main things of really just feeling the separation between my lower and my upper body and feeling all that pressure on my left foot just to have control right there.
Yeah. Now you kind of have a short left arm in your rotation. There's short arms, a quick arm, long arms, a relaxed arm. Was that something as your early youth you were kind of taught by Kai's dad to have that short left lever arm? Because you have really good shoulder turn.
Yes, I think whenever I was younger and I was not, what am I trying to say? Not switching my feet, not reversing. So like a non-reverse. I think I really tried to like go into my left side block. And so just with the lower body, the upper body, the arm, getting me in that position, I think that's kind of where it's coming from. I'm actually trying to relax my arm a little more at the moment.
Are you? Okay.
It's not going great.
Don't change it.
We're working on it. I think I can get a little bit more length out of it if I stay a little bit more close and relaxed with my left.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. So you come around, left foot hits the ground. Amazing release. What's your cues on that release? Chest up. What's kind of your thought process on that angle of release?
I think main thing, just keeping that right foot moving as soon as it lands. And then same thing, feeling that separation between the lower body and the upper body. I never try to throw the discus because I know if I move my lower body, my upper body will have to follow. And so I really, really try to not throw the discus at all and more really sling it. I try to tell my teammates sometimes too, you can't muscle the throw, you can't throw the discus really because it either is too light or you're not going to hit it. So it's really more of like a sling, I think, with your whole arm, with your whole body. And so, I think my focus is getting that left foot down, working into it with my right, keeping that right turning, and then just staying long with that right arm and letting it happen until the finish.
In your training, do a lot of non-reverse throws, then build up to reverse throws?
I do it during off season, so more in like September, October, November, like more during that times. And then if I throw other implements like bars or chains, things like that, then I usually do non-reverse just to really feel working into the ground and working my whole body before anything else.
Okay. Okay.
What is throwing bars? Like, what does that look like? What kind of bars are you
It's
throwing?
really
Candy
just like
bars? No, I'm
little
just kidding.
metal bars.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Like little, about like,
How much?
Yeah.
What's the weight?
What's
What's
the
the different
weight of
weights
them?
on them?
I think we have a few different ones. They're like 2.5 kilo, some 3.5, something in between there.
Cool.
okay.
Cool. Now, so discus being your favorite, you're also a pretty good shot putter. And then you're also a pretty good javelin thrower. So walk us through your week of how you practice for discus versus the other two events, and do you do stuff on the same day? And do you ever worry about the pressure in javelin and all that type stuff? The elbow thing.
Yeah, I don't really throw javelin in practice.
Okay.
We do it like maybe every 3 weeks once or something like that. That's why like I also don't really compete in it as much. I did it at Texas Relays just because it's like a great atmosphere to throw at relays and to get going. And so yeah, I mainly throw it at conference to score points for the team.
Okay.
But since we're doing it that way, I mainly just focus on shot and discus, and then it's pretty equal of doing Monday shot, Tuesday discus, and then Wednesday we don't lift. So we just do both events usually. But it really kind of depends on the day, and also what day will we have the competition? Do we have Thursday, Friday to practice? Do we only have Thursday to practice? Things like that. So I think it is pretty equal of the events that I train, shot and discus. And then just kind of seeing like how many days we have to train, and then balancing that pretty equally.
Yeah. Now, is your cues the same as in shot put? Is there as the same in discus? Because some people think the shot and rotation, discus rotation is the same. Some people think they're totally opposite. Kind of what is y'all's philosophy? How's Jared handle rotational shot put from rotational discus?
There are definitely a lot of similarities, especially with me being comfortable in discus. I try to take that into the shot.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also some significant differences, I think, that you need to do to throw the shot well, that I feel like I'm still trying to figure out.
What is that?
Well, she hasn't been rotational forever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, true. I think discus is just comes more natural because you're so long, so you can just stay more loose. And earlier, what I said, I like to just sling the discus, do the work with my body rather than my arm. And in shot, I mean, you still have to put that pressure on the shot. So I think that's definitely a big difference for me to figure out the finish of finishing the lower body, but also using that arm obviously to give it a little bit of extra.
Yeah.
And getting the shot out there.
You're able at your size. How tall are you? 5'7"?
Yeah, 5'7".
Are you able to, and how is that your multi experience as a youth? Is that where you are able to create, that explosion and speed and power that you use to, to sling the disc or push the shot put?
Yeah, I think so. I think I get a lot of feedback of me being decently fast in the ring. And so I think just having that experience for a few years now, I think that helped to using that speed to my advantage rather than some people are so fast that they can't control the implement at some point. And that definitely, I have those meets and practices too, where I'm just way too fast and I can't really feel any positions. But yeah, I think from being a multi and being developed in other areas, I think I can use that speed and that explosiveness to my advantage in those events.
Yeah, I watched the 2021 prelim throws for the NCAAs at Eugene, Oregon. Would you say you were too fast there? Because you probably had the best sector foul throw of anybody in the meet. You probably won the sector foul contest. You know what throw I'm talking? It was like your first or second one down the right sector. And I think you just you maybe blocked yourself off a little bit, and that thing came a hum, and I thought it was going to hit the tower.
I think with Oregon, I'm a little baby when it comes to slick rings. and I
Mm.
didn't practice in the ring. So right when we were warming up, that was the first time I was in the ring since Discus was on Saturday, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And so since that was my only event, we didn't travel. We didn't want to travel Monday already and then be there the whole week. And so we just kind of decided we'll just go there for the meet. It'll be good. But then seeing that ring was very slick, very fast. And so I think I didn't set myself up at the entry well enough to finish the throw and get it in the sector, sadly.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I, was that, I'm gonna, don't, this isn't a bad question, but don't get mad at me. Was that the first competition where you kind of had a little bit of failure? Because you didn't make top 12 in that meet, and when you were kind of favored to go into the finals.
Yeah, for sure. I think I was mostly frustrated with the fact that I couldn't change that for myself, that I couldn't just calm and collect myself and know like the ring is going to be slick and fast on my next run. Like, let's really focus on what we need to do to be safe and to be controlled. So yeah, I think definitely, especially going to nationals the 2 years before, so before the COVID year, I definitely was hoping to perform better than that year, and performing worse than that year was definitely a little hard, but I mean, we have one more year, so we'll see.
Yes, you
That's
do.
right.
So
Learn from it.
during
Learn
COVID,
from
now, and you just brought up it, did you go back home? What was your
Oh, yeah.
situation with COVID? Were you caught in Abilene? Did you stay in Abilene during COVID? How did that affect your training?
Yeah, I first stayed in Abilene for a little bit. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was kind of up in the air. Do I want to go back home? But I was worried that I was going to get stuck there, and then not knowing what will happen, like if I can come back. And so I made a decision fairly late. I didn't go home until the end of May. And I mean, the season was already ended in March.
Yeah.
So I definitely stayed there through the whole school, even though it was all online, but I stayed at my house, tried to train, but I mean, it was kind of hard because what are you training for really? I mean, you keep going, you do things, but you don't know, are you going to have a meet this week or this year? Like, should you throw with the 1K? Should you make this more of like an off season? Or
Yeah.
honestly, should you maybe relax a little bit? Because I never had a break. I mean, I would always compete over here. And then as soon as I would go home, I would compete in Germany. And then my season would be done the end of or middle through the beginning of August. And then I would come back over here and start training. So pretty much I always only had about 2-3 weeks off each year since I've done track. And so I think I was kind of like, what do I do with my time? I don't really know. And then everything was closed, so you didn't really have anything to do. I think at some point I was really excited to stay in Texas actually, because I thought this is going to be a great summer. Like I can actually just enjoy what I want to do. I can, I don't know, go to the lake or do things like that. And so I was actually kind of excited to live a summer rather than having like the responsibility of like, practice twice a day and then you have a meet this weekend, so you don't want to be exhausted and things like that. So I think at some point I was actually really excited for it. But then me and my brothers decided to surprise my mom for her birthday. And so I flew home with her not knowing, and I just sat in our backyard. And whenever she came out, she was super excited that I was there because she didn't think she was going to get to see me. Yeah. And so then I was home until August. And as soon I tried to do the season in Germany because they tried to open it up for athletes that were in the national team. You could train, and they even tried to do some meets. But then I did that for a little bit. But then they opened up for students to come back to the US. And I was really worried they were going to close that again. And so as soon as that happened, I pretty much just packed and came back over here. So yeah, I had like a summer in Abilene, and then went home for a little bit and then just came back.
Oh, wow. So have you been able to visit, some of the great, vacation spots in Texas? And,
I can say in Abilene.
have you got to go to the coast and see Galveston and some of that? Have you been to Dallas?
Yes, I've been to Dallas, I've been to Houston, been to Galveston a little bit, but not really a vacation or things like that. I think just like going home with friends, with people, spending time with them.
Been to Lubbock, experienced the wind in Lubbock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Have you been to Palo Duro Canyon?
No, I have not.
Yeah,
that's
that would be
that's
fun
yeah
one
around
to
the
do.
Amarillo area for
Okay.
sure. For
Yeah, I
sure.
haven't really
So,
been out there.
yeah, what's the end goal for this year?
Yeah.
What's the goal? NCAA championship?
Oh yeah, for sure. NCAA's, and then also doing the season back home in Germany.
Okay.
Seeing what will happen there, doing German nationals there. I mean, we have the European Championships in Europe this year in Germany actually. Plus we have the World Championships. So there might be some hope that some like the professional throwers at the moment that maybe they decide I'm just going to do the World Championships and train through the European Championships to open up another spot. So maybe fighting for that, seeing how that will go.
How does that work? So do y'all all compete against each other's to go to the World Championships, or do they have like the first pass refusal or something like that for them to go before you because of a better mark or something?
Yeah, so there's definitely the qualification mark, which I'm not quite sure what exactly that is for Germany right now. So you definitely have to fill that, and then we have German nationals that pretty much decide who's going to go. Again, it's usually the one that wins it, and then usually the following ones. But sometimes if it's like really tight or people haven't thrown it or the German nationals wasn't great, then I think they kind of more look at the comparison of all the meets over the season where they threw against each other, who was usually the one winning or who was usually the one better. So things like that. Yeah, and so I think the same thing is pretty much going to happen for European Championships. They're just going to nominate the same people for both, and then I think the athletes will decide like, hey, I'm just going to focus on World Championships, and then you just have like a person that is right below and it's just going to step up.
Okay.
So is ultimately when you graduate and you go back home, is the ultimate goal to represent Germany in the Olympics? Is that your long-term goal?
That definitely would be exciting. Yeah.
Wow. Did you watch this past year's Olympics?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
It was exciting. It was really exciting, I think, to see how new people are there. I mean, Daisy made it to the Olympics.
Yes.
You have the girl from the Netherlands, Jorinde. She was at the Olympics. And then even Valerie. I mean, she's definitely older than those Daisy and Jorinde, but she's still not somebody that's been there for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And so even the girl who got second from Germany, I think that was her first Olympics. So
Yeah.
I think it was really exciting to see how you have more new people who come in, and just to see how this will progress over the next years.
Wow. Is there someone you look up to, and I don't want to say idolize, but there's someone you kind of look from afar that kind of look up to, a male or a female in throwing?
I mean, I think Robert Harting's career was like very great. I think that's definitely somebody who always portrayed a good athlete, performance-wise, but also in just a character. So I think he's definitely one. But I'm not really the type that idolize or fangirls, things like that. I think I do look at videos and I see people's strengths and weaknesses, but I don't really think I look up in a sense of looking up to an athlete or things like that.
Yeah. Were you in the stands when Valerie threw the 71?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, you weren't there at that one? No, that was, or excuse me, she just threw 69 this week.
Yes. But
Okay,
we all left. I wasn't there either.
Oh, you weren't there for either?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So what will you do with that master's degree in business? What's your plans? I know you talk about wanting
She's
to
going to be our own agent.
I know. So what's your plans with that degree?
So I want to go into data science, data analytics, and just connecting it with my undergrads on marketing. So I find it really interesting. Just, I think the best example are Amazon, Netflix, Google, things like that. When you put in, I don't know, a certain word and all these other things pop up. Or on Amazon, you buy one thing and it already tells you what other people bought that also bought this, or what you should be buying because you bought this. And I mean, that's all pretty much based on data. And so I find that really interesting. And I think that connects with marketing and just consumer behavior, how our brains work and how we can manipulate our brains into buying things and things like that. So I find that very interesting.
So will you do that in Germany, or you plan on staying in the States because you'll be throwing? What would that look like?
Yeah, I'm actually not quite sure yet how that's all going to work out. I'm still trying to figure out the connection and how I can combine things, both these things, and then also trying to figure out visa situations. So I haven't really made a decision yet or figured out what that's going to look like. But
you could go to work for Chick-fil-A, and every time I think of that cow, I get a free Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, that's good.
You could develop the app for that.
Yeah.
All those apps already, I feel like they read my mind anyway. So.
For sure. Where's your next meet at?
We're going to Baylor, Michael Johnson.
Oh, the 22nd, 23rd, right?
Yes.
I believe, yeah. We might be down there for that.
So, sounds good.
Yeah, we might be able to meet you and stuff. So, hey, just real quick, what does Coach Cook mean to you, and what is his, being just more than a coach, that relationship with you being, because I know y'all are really close.
Yeah.
Y'all are really close, and that's kind of a father, daughter bond that y'all probably have developed over the last 6 years. What does he mean to you, and what's that experience been like?
Oh, it's just been great. I mean, he really is family to me. I think being so far away from family too, he pretty much just took me in, and not just him, but his wife and his kids too.
Oh, wow.
So I think just being here for 6 years already, that could really only progress this way. And so, yeah, it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing, like having them take me under their little guidance. And yeah, I don't think that's going to change, even if I end up back in Germany or things like that. So yeah, definitely family. For sure.
Now, any thoughts of maybe, getting into coaching and stuff like that?
I have really enjoyed learning what I learned in school. So I think I really want to use that data analytics and data science to have a job. But I love coaching. I love helping other people out and sharing what was shared with me, and even what worked for me. So I can definitely see that at some point I can coach, but I don't think I can see it as like my main job. I think I would love to do it on the side. I would love to help. And I mean, I think also that's how I've experienced it in Germany. I mean, most of the coaches there have their own jobs, and then they just come after work and train with you. And so I can definitely see that that's how I can give back and share what I've learned. But I don't think I would like to be a full throws coach, but yeah.
Gotcha. Now, has your mom or dad came to Abilene to watch you throw? Has your family came over to watch you throw?
No, they haven't. They actually had everything planned in 2020. We had hotels, we had flight, everything, and then it got all shut down. So we haven't thought about it.
Oh, well, hopefully if you make nationals, they can come.
Yes, that would be great.
We didn't talk. What about your brothers? What are they, athletes? What do they do? You said you have 2 older brothers.
Yeah, they also didn't really do much for sport. I think I was mainly the one that was taking my parents' time into helping me and getting to practice and all these things. So they didn't really have a chance to get that same treatment, sadly. Sometimes I get to hear that too, that I was the one that took all that time. But I think they enjoyed being at home with my parents gone with me. So I think it was benefits in them.
A good balance.
Yeah.
Are you got into your favorite team in the Bundesliga? Are you a Bayern Munich fan? Who's your favorite team?
I think if I had to pick one, it would probably be Dortmund. I'm not a huge Bayern München fan, but I'm also, especially since I've been over here, I haven't been that much into soccer anymore. Okay. My brother loves it. My brother has his favorite team, Schalke. Yeah, so definitely he's always been a fan. I don't think they're doing too great right now, but he's still going strong. So
what's been your assessment of athletic college football and being in Abilene in the state of Texas and football and all that type stuff?
I think it's great because it gives the college, the university, all the students a bond when you're all meeting at a sporting event. I wish other sports would get the same treatment or would bring the same out of the school. So I think it's definitely a great event to bond the whole university and all the students. That's good. I think Abilene being a small school, it's not as big of an atmosphere that I think you can find at other schools. Yeah. But I mean, I do enjoy going to the sporting events, going to support others. Yeah, but also not too much into football. Other than I enjoy watching it, but I'm not like, oh, this was a good play. I just don't know enough about it.
Right.
All right. That's the reason I asked. I was just curious. So
Yeah.
you're like, it's 4th and 1. They need to throw a pass.
Pretty much.
Pretty
Yes.
much. Well, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah.
Big fans, really big fans. I have rotational shot put video on you. I actually think I have a glide shot put video on you from your youth. So big fan.
He watches
you-
videos a lot, and you're one. Hey, come here. I have this girl. I want you to watch her. Watch her. See how she does this. So now he can say, "I talked to her. I need you to do."
Well,
this.
you're 5'7", and you're able to generate so much power, and it's fascinating to know that your hurdle experience coming out of the blocks, being able to bound in 3-step, and that coordination of getting over the hurdles.
Yeah.
A lot of that applies into discus throwing.
For sure, yes.
And we've had Olympian javelin thrower, and all through her high school career, she was a state pole vaulter in one state 3 years in a row, and didn't touch a javelin until she got to college.
Yeah.
So her entire makeup of how she throws javelin is based on her approach and run up with a pole in her hand as a pole vaulter.
Yeah.
And
You definitely take a lot of all the other events and use it in the event that you specialize in too. Yeah.
For sure. And I like the verbiage, because we talk to kids about not muscling it. I like the verbiage you have of sling. That's something we're going to borrow is the sling aspect of it.
How does that translate in German? The sling.
Um,
Is there a word?
Don't
for
put
it?
her on the spot.
I'm just curious if that was something you came across in the U.S. The term slinging it, or were you using that terminology?
I think Kai's dad would always more say pull it, in a sense of like pulling the finish off your finger. So I think it was more pulling then. I don't think as much slinging. I think I've kind of more developed that once I felt like I was really mainly just slinging that discus and didn't really throw it. Yeah.
That's good.
Gotcha. Well, cool. Well, good luck for the rest of the year. We hope to meet you and get a picture with you. Good luck at NCAAs. Well, hopefully we might see you in Waco in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Tell Jared we said hello, and
Will do.
good luck with everything. We hope 60 meters.
Yeah.
For sure. 60 meters for sure. And then 18 meters in the shot put.
Oh yeah. Going after all of these. Maybe
Going after all of them in the same week. For sure. Thank you. Take care. I'll let you go first.
It's because you were going to pronounce her name wrong.
That's true.
We want to thank Annina for being on. What we were just saying, how awesome she was to talk to, how well spoken, not just her English language, just how well spoken and knowledgeable she was about her throwing and her experience. One of the things, and I don't think I did a good job when I was talking to her about it, when she talked about lifting and throwing, just being connected to your body. That's what sometimes our young throwers miss, because they don't understand their body movement and how to connect it, and how she needs to get in the weight room to feel that connection, really feel my lower body working as I'm doing a snatch or whatever, and take that into throwing. It's just, understanding how your body moves.
For sure.
It's hard to get younger kids to understand.
And I just like the simple fact that, there's the connection that the coach, the thrower of Jared Cook, and Jared's one of those throws coaches that kind of goes underneath the radar. A lot of times when you talk about maybe the best throws coaches in the state of Texas or wherever, you put those lists together, and he's kind of the guy that you might not put on that list, but he's a damn good coach, and what he's been able to do with her and to put her on a national level, because keep in mind, she just went out to Mount Sec from Abilene Christian and competed against Power 5 Power 5 schools and kicked their butt, and threw over 58 meters, which is an accomplishment in herself. And, she's right there with all of them. Yeah. And I think too, her experience throwing for the German national team as a youth is something that's been able to put her in big meets to be able to handle a lot of those situations. I like the verbiage of sling the disc instead of muscling the disc. Really good. She's just a technician, for shot and disc. And if you haven't had a chance to Google her on YouTube, look her up, because her technique is very sound. And there's a lot of influences, that German influence, but there's a lot of influences now that you see with Coach Cook and what they've been able to do and evolve her from where she was her freshman year to what she's doing now.
Yeah, I'm excited
So,
to watch her finish
sure. So,
her senior season and then see what she does.
well, thanks
for
so
the national
much.
team. Yeah.
We will see y'all down the road.
All right, let's thank our sponsors for season 5. Texas Track and Field Coaches Association. Go to ttfca.org and check out all the latest and greatest stuff in track and field. We are right in the middle of the heart of the season. If you need to see what people are throwing, where they rank out, all those things. If you need some implements, go to fourthrows.com. Get good quality implements. Use the code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off. You can also get you a Fiber Sport at fourthrows.com. We love our Fiber Sport Discus. Portacircle, porta-circle.com. Use the code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off. If you're in Austin, Ready Up AD, Ready Up Athletic Development, go see Zach Phillips. Check him out. That's the first time I've said check him out. I'm getting better. Go find him. Follow him on Instagram or Facebook. He's always got just great stuff that he's posting. And then if you're looking to get in to throwing, do a summer throwing season, go check out the Throwing Factory. We've got coaches, Coach Kai, we've got Morgan, we've got Coach Jarvis, we've got us. Most people don't know you can do a whole summer season of throwing. So
yeah, especially if you're looking for a good youth coach.
Yes, I don't make him cry like he does. We have some fun. You also have fun. And then on our webpage, if you've got a thrower, if you're a parent out there, we have some really cool shirts that say "Thrower Mom" and just some cool things. So go look at that on our website. Podcasts, listen to us on our podcast, Apple, Spotify. You get YouTube, you get to see our lovely faces as we're doing our podcast.
And then yes, Lifting DFW Human Performance. Go to the website liftingdfw.com. It's a mobile fitness station that we can basically bring anywhere to you anytime. Set it up at a park or garage and give you a full workout, whether if you're a 5-star athlete, a mom, a dad, or a youth sport.
Yep. All right, you guys have a good one. Thanks.